presence with thanksgiving in your
Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Libhart and you're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. We want you to have a great vision for this holiday season. As we pass through Easter and all of what it means, you've heard possibly some wonderful sermons and pageants and live shows. And I know that it's a time of reflecting. I think of resurrection as a time to restart. And there are many things that we can do at the time of the Easter time to bring us back to who we are in Christ. What I wanted to talk to today, and get your comments also, was a merry heart in the marketplace, because I think a lot of times we simply do not have a merry heart in the marketplace. And when I'm working with a business, I call it humor in business. But I'll use some verses and three people who are my mentors, and also three steps that you can take, and you'll come away with three results or benefits from that. The Proverbs 17:22 says, the verse is very wonderful and plain, and you've heard it, I'm sure. Merry heart doeth good like medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. And also in 15:13 it says, merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance. And I remember one time about a little girl who saw a donkey, and she said, Mommy, is that a Christian? And she said, well, no, hon, that's a donkey. Why do you ask? She said, well, he has such a long, sad face. I thought maybe he was a Christian. Well, sometimes we need to let our face know that we have a merry heart. It says, but by sorrow of the heart, the spirit is broken. But when we have a merry heart, a lot of times we can just start smiling, and when people smile back at us, and I think the most difficult smile is to put that first smile on in the morning, and if you get up and you feel the challenges of the day in front of you. Verse 15 says, all the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. And it's just the idea that we can make that decision to have a merry heart. And we all have challenges. I'm going to have a person on soon that has a grandson that was born with what I call a strawberry mark, a little place on the mark on the head, and it kept getting bigger till now it covers the whole side of his face. And she's going to talk about this, what has happened and what the doctors say, but more than that is how she coped with it. When talking about a merry heart in the marketplace, I think of three different people or mentors for me in the Bible. One is Esther. Now, Esther was actually, in essence, the slave people, the Jewish people were, when they were there, and when the Vashti, the queen, was taken away from the kingdom, well, they were looking for a new queen. Well, Mordecai, who raised Esther, was not the father, it was an uncle, actually. Well, he had her to get in front of the people also, and she was so beautiful, she was chosen as the next queen. And the king didn't know that she was a Jewish person. And so she had a year of preparation. I think sometimes when my daughter's getting ready, and maybe me too, I'd like to have a year to get everything just perfect. But I still have red hair and freckles, so I guess I'll forget that idea. But anyway, when Queen Esther had some challenges that she was, Haman, who was an evil man that was an advisor to the king, wanted to have the Jewish people annihilated because Mordecai, Esther's uncle, wouldn't bow down to him. So he got the king to make a decree that they were to be killed on a certain day. Well, when the queen Esther found out about it, Mordecai told her, he said, perhaps you came to the kingdom for such a time as this. And so she called the king to a banquet. First they fasted and prayed 3 days, and she called the king to a banquet. She didn't tell him what was going to happen that first banquet. And then she called him and Haman back to the second night to the banquet, and then she told him what had happened. and told him who it was, and it was Haman right here at the banquet with us. And so the king was so upset and said he couldn't change the decree, but he could make it possible for the Jewish people to defend themselves. Well, I just love Esther in the fact that she was bold. When Mordecai said, "You may have come to the kingdom for such a time as this," she just did it. If you've ever thought about a merry heart or humor or laughter, why some people don't seem to have it, I think we do, that when we're born, but most people are told no, 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 no so many times that, number one, going over why people aren't laughing is this: they feel the impact from their parents. Many times the turmoil that they're going through, the children can feel it. I know when I was a child growing up on the farm, I don't think my mother and dad ever let me know that they had any troubles or any problems, and I've had a very happy lifetime. No running water and all of that, but it didn't matter. Electricity, and all of our friends had 3 rooms and a bath. We had 3 rooms and a bath, but those things didn't matter. But I think a lot of times in today's world, in the 90s, and as we go into the 21st century, people are just concerned, and they take it out. There's 3 children a day that die from child abuse. Well, there's a lot of people that don't die, a lot of children, but the children feel this turmoil in the family. And so what we need to do, perhaps, is while our children are little, is keep a lot of that to ourselves. Of course, you want to be transparent when major things, but not just put the burden on them, because they don't understand the economic situations totally. Now, secondly, there are benefits from laughing. When it says, "Merry heart doeth good like a medicine," I know a person who, although they prayed, and I know God healed them, but they had cancer, and one of the things that they did, it was in the Reader's Digest, they got a lot of funny videotapes they checked out, and they would watch something funny every day. And of course the Lord healed them from their cancer, but also I feel that it was helped along by just laughing. Our grandson, David, and I have giggle time, where we just laugh and laugh and laugh and just have fun laughing. And I think that we can do that. That Norman Cousins, you may remember, talked about the anatomy of an illness, and he says a hospital is no place for you when you're sick, because that it makes you feel worse when you're around all those people. I think sometimes maybe you could try some real upbeat music, Christian music, or march music, or "Onward Christian Soldiers," when you get started in the morning, and just have some fun. Now, your body language can be a part of the benefits of laughing. If you look at someone and they say, "I really love you," or "I'm really happy today." We one time had a person who came to our church and they said, "I'm so excited about being here. I'm so enthusiastic about being here." And the more you listen, the more you want to cry almost. If a person is happy or act as if wants to be happy, maybe they could act like they're happy. I've gone to seminars, and I'm sure you have too, that one of them said, say, when people ask you how you are this morning, for the first 10 people, say, "I'm terrific, I'm blessed." Because if you say it often enough, well, we get a lot of times what we say. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And people believe what they see. So if they say, "Oh, you feel humdrum," then they're going to not believe that you're feeling happy and feel blessed. Because no matter, it says all things work together for good for them that love God. And so if all things are going to work together for good, we might as well just be happy and have a little giggle time together. A lot of times in my seminars, I will actually have a laughing contest where I get people on stage and we giggle, and we give a prize to the one that laughs and giggles the most and has the most fun. And I think that it's terrific to do that. Now, there's ways that you can actually help people have fun. Just if you're at the water fountain, take a little Post-it and put on the Post-it and say, "What are you up to now?" Or, "Hey, what about the ladies' bathroom?" Some of these things that you can do. then you could list 5 or 10 things that you like, and maybe list 5 or 10 things that you don't like, and think about how you spend your day and see how that you can learn to cope with all of it and laugh and go on with life. Because if we're alive and breathing and have an opportunity to tell another human about Jesus, then we are in a blessed stage. We can just be so thankful for what we have, our eyes and our ears and our mouth. And sometimes my husband says he would talk more, but he hates to interrupt. Sometimes I might have a tendency to talk too much, but I think that if we will say positive things, calling into being those things which are not as if they were. The Bible speaks about that. The second person that I think is a good example for me, in addition to Esther, is the woman in Proverbs 31. If you get down and read that and just really study about it, it's absolutely amazing the things that it talks about when it says that who can find a virtuous woman, her price is far above rubies, and her heart, the heart of her husband trusts in her. And it goes on to say she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She's like the merchant ship. She brings food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night. I could do a little bit more of that, I think. And giveth food to her household and a portion to her maidens. In other words, if you get up and have a good breakfast, that'll start the whole household in a better mood. And then she considereth the field and buyeth it. So I guess she was in real estate too. I've had that real estate license about 15 years. Don't do a lot with it now. But I guess I could do more. It says, with the fruit of her hand she planteth a vineyard. She's out in the field working, and it says she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. And I think about not only the woman, the virtuous woman, but David. It said when Saul was chasing him and he had to hide in the caves and all of his people turned against him, that he encouraged himself. We have to encourage ourselves. It says she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. She believes in what she's doing. And her lamp goeth not out by night. She layeth her hand to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. That's a wonderful trait that we have, and we need to do more often. And we have to make that decision as to who are needy and how we're going to help them, because we can't have another person put a guilt trip on us and say, you should be going to visit all the people in the hospital, you should be taking food to the poor. You need to decide how to do that. You're responsible. It's just your relationship with God. And it says she maketh, she's not afraid of snow for the household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. So they are well protected. She makes enough money that she has things for them. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Sometimes I feel that I see people I know have beautiful clothes that they wear to other places, luncheons, and to their workplace, and they come to church looking like ragamuffins. I think we need to wear the very best when we are representing the Lord in any ministry or in any way, that we need to have the very best. The Proverbs 31 woman did. She dressed in silk and purple. Of course, purple right now is a really good color. I think they're calling it eggplant this year. But anyway, the idea is that you should have the very best you can put together for the Lord, whether it's going to church or in any other type of ministry. When people see you, you need to have your face on, and the face starts from the inside out with that smile on the face and not dumping all your troubles on other people. I've done a lot of that this last year and a half, and I'm going to have a new goal is to not do that to you all the time. But I do appreciate the love and appreciation that a lot of you have. It says not only does she have the clothing in silk and purple, her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. I know there are a lot of women that build their husband up. I think of Mrs. James Record, so many things that Dr. Record has done for this community in this whole area, or they wouldn't have named a street after him, I'm sure. But his wife has stood behind him and helped him so many times, and that's a way a lot of Christian wives do. And even though she did all these other things, real estate, getting organized for the day, but yet because of her support of her husband, I feel like a lot of times Vicki and Chuck Tatum, that a lot of you know that have Victory Network here, I see Vicki just always giving her husband a boost. I'm sure Chuck gives Vicki a boost too, but she's always bragging on him, and he handsome, he can get things done, he's so good doing this. She's always bragging about him, and I just think that's so sweet of her to do that. That when he gets his head set, he can go up and say, we're doing great things and we're doing wonderful things. And I just love the way that she supports him and he supports her, and they work together. It says, she maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Now, she opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. I know that is a challenge that many of us have. I have had that since the day I was born, I think, is being a little bit sharp with people and saying wrong things. It seems like I have my mouth open, my foot in it a lot of the time. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. And I think that has a lot to do with the television that we watch. We need to watch ourselves. I was just realizing, I went to visit my brother and his wife in Chattanooga, Dayton, Tennessee, the other week, and they were doing our taxes. He has a tax firm. And while we were there, we were sitting up on Saturday night, and I was watching television, and they don't watch much Saturday night television. I realized I knew everything that was going to happen in the program called The Sisters, and I thought, what am I doing? I need to be spending that time studying the Bible or doing other things, and not spending so much time. And I really don't. It's just Saturday night, there are 3 programs that I watch on a program, but maybe I'm spending too much time, and it made me wonder and take a new thought about what I'm using my time for. Now it says, her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman who feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Another person that I think of that's a mentor for me, in addition to Esther and the virtuous woman, is the girls, the women that were talked about in Job. And you may remember that story where Job lost his money, and Satan was allowed to just, take his money, his children, his houses. He had swords. And I find at the end of that chapter, is chapter 42, when God, after Job prayed for his friends, and that's why I always want to pray for the viewers, pray for the people that cross my path in life, and pray for you, because I love you and I want you to be blessed and have the very best and have a merry heart. And it talks about what happened there, and says the Lord blessed Job, the end of Job, more than his beginning. And he tells about now he has, instead of 7,000 sheep, he has 14,000. Instead of 3,000 oxen, he has camel. He has 6,000 oxen, camel, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she-asses. He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. But here's the part I wanted to talk to you about. And he called the name of the first daughter Jemimah, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Keren-Happuch. Now, in all the land were no daughters found as fair as the daughters of Job. And their father, Job, gave them inheritance among their brethren. See, I think that's great, because we as women need to know that we deserve an inheritance. Maybe we don't deserve it, but it's wonderful when we can have that inheritance along with our brothers and the men in the family. And that means also that we have things that we can do with our life. Now, remember in this reframing that we're doing, that I would like to encourage you to list 5 or 10 things that you like and 5 or 10 things that you don't like. Because I think women are overloaded both places, in the workplace and also at home. And I think a cheerful heart shows confidence and security in the Lord, but our lives are not all laughter, and we know that's true. But we can take what happens to us and flow through it and not put that burden on other people. Now, I remember a story that this woman had such a wonderful sense of humor, and she had a terminal illness, and she was dying, and so there was a person visiting her, and she said, the person that was visiting the woman that was dying, who had such a terrific attitude, well, it was my Aunt Cecil anyway, she said, and she died just a few weeks ago that we went to the funeral, but she had that caustic tongue that I think is wonderful to have until the day you die, to be able to come back and just not be all syrupy nice all the time, but just sometimes just let out what you're feeling. But we were saying to her, Aunt Cecil, really another friend that was talking to her said, "You are so precious." And Aunt Cecil said, "You're precious too." She said, "Aunt Cecil, I just love you." And she said, Aunt Cecil said, "I love you too." And she said, "Aunt Cecil, you are so pretty." Aunt Cecil said, "It sure is a shame you're not pretty too." I think it's kind of cute when she just had a good idea. She just was, whatever she came to her mind, she said it, and she didn't worry about the fact that that other person was visiting her. Well, I want you to remember, as we recap the things, the 3 women mentors, or 3 mentors, and that's Esther and the Proverbs woman and the women in Job, and that we can take that belief, that ABC, the belief, the attitude, belief, and choice, and what will happen is that we will avoid the #1 disease of the year 2000, and that's a low self-image. And secondly, that we have to give ourselves a standing ovation, just like David did. Well, I'm sure it wasn't exactly a standing ovation, but he did encourage himself. And as we go through this whole Easter season, and I know you're concerned about the clothes and all that, and it didn't make any difference anyway. Easter's all over by the time you see this program, I'm sure. But we need to have a resurrection in our life and a restart. And as we go through this springtime, and we're looking through the wardrobe and taking out all the winter clothes and putting them back, and we're bringing out last year's spring and summer clothes and putting them in, as we clean out those closets and as we restart our spring and summer, we have a new day. You know, if it is 1 second ago, it's already over. And that means that we have an opportunity to start over every time. And I would like to encourage you to have a merry heart in the marketplace. The marketplace for you may be your home. That's where you work and live. And the marketplace may be a job that you have. It may be your ministry. Wherever you are every day, that is your marketplace. Because a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. And by all means, when you have a merry heart, let your face know about it, because it says in Proverbs that we will have a joyful countenance. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and I would like to know how you have a merry heart, even though you've gone through a lot. Let me know here, 461-8148, 205 area code. I'm Bonnie Libhart, along with Chuck and Vicki here at Victory Network, watching Vision Plus. Bless your heart for watching.
Thanksgiving in your heart.